The car scene is an extremely rough and weird spot. It's been in the spot for quite a long time, quite a few years now, a little over a decade, I think. Now, being only 19 years old, I haven't been a car part of the car community for my entire life. I have only recently entered the community, but that doesn't stop me from experiencing the extensive history and the mishaps throughout the entire car community. So, if you haven't already determined this, I am a car guy. I used to drive a 2016 Ford Focus ST, 6-speed manual little hatchback, no more than 250 horsepower. It was very fun, very amazing first car, and that got totaled. Now I drive a 2019 Subaru WRX, very nice, also very fun, more powerful than my Focus, but has same 6-speed manual, very nice, very good, very fun. So I would consider myself a part of the car community. Now, I don't post that much car content because that's not what I want this channel to be about. However, I still have some opinions on the whole community, the whole car scene as one general topic because it's rough. With the development of social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all these massive platforms, the car scene has been exploding. Different people have entered and left, different builds have been made and destroyed. All these different things have happened, and that's generally, you would think, a good thing for a community. More activity, more friction, if you will. But like everything, it is of course a double-edged sword. Now I'm going to say this right now. If you consider yourself a car person, or if you get offended easily, I would click off this video because I'm going to get in pretty into this serious topic of mine. People nowadays are way too sensitive, and I will be making multiple videos about this topic later in my channel's lifetime. But people in the car community specifically are very sensitive, let's say. They get offended super easily. And the same people who get offended super easily are the same people who demand respect from these car people. All in all, the car scene is in a pretty treacherous spot. It's rough, it's super popular, it's oversaturated, to put it in better words. But a specific part of the car community is what I'm going to be talking about today. It is the respect all builds culture, which I completely disagree with, because at the end of the day, I have no morals. If you take your all right, let me cool down a little bit. I have no morals for you if you take your V6 Mustang, if you put on some underglow, if you put on a fake hood vent, if you put on an upside down spoiler, and if you put letters on your tires. I have no respect for you because I know who you are. I know the type of person that you are. Now, I don't mean to overshoot this because my Subaru WRX has no more than 350 horsepower. I am not one of the big dogs. I do not drive a Dodge Viper or a Corvette. I do not drive a S15. I am not rich like that. Not yet, at least. But I can still have an opinion about this because, my freedom of speech. Now, my brain fully wasn't developed in the early 2000s because I was born in the early 2000s. My frontal lobe did not exist yet. I was not a cognitive being. I was just a husk of a child existing in this earth. But I have done enough research to determine that the early 2000s and right before the 2000s are when car culture was at its peak. You have Midnight Club from Japan, you have all these different dragsters, you have the newer, during the time, the newer American muscle cars. Everything was just so much better. People were more unique, and clubs in the car scene were a lot harder to get into. You could just buy a VQ and then slam it with some camber on it and then put fake BBSs on it, and then you're immediately, you just plaster a banner on your front windshield and then you're immediately in the car club. That's not how that works. That wasn't how it worked, at least 15-20 years ago. And unfortunately, I would have to blame social media for this because the same people who do that to their cars, their ricers or their pieces of shits, are the same people who attend takeovers, which I don't agree with in the slightest. Not even legal pits. Like, takeovers are just, that's a video for a different day. And also, in general, if you're trying to demand respect from a specific culture or group of people, you're probably doing something wrong. There is something inside your little brain of yours that tells you maybe your car isn't that cool. Maybe your vehicle that you added some fake spiky lug nuts to isn't the coolest. Maybe your Jeep Wrangler isn't so badass. Maybe because you need to go up to this group of people and say, hey, respect my build. You should do some reconsidering. And unfortunately, both sides of the car community feed into this issue. Both the people who are trying to enter and the people who have been in the car community for years, decades even. The same people who drive the nice cars and the same people who spend all this money and have all the super fast cars and the nice luxury vehicles are the same people that are enforcing this mindset, this thing that you need to have some specific amount of money spent, or you need to have some specific amount of horsepower to enter a car club, for example. You need to be this specific amount of wealthy to be with us, which I know it sounds hypocritical when I say it, but let me explain. What social media does to our brains is it amplifies stuff. It buffers our not only dopamine receptors, but it buffers our idea of things. Now, in the car community on TikTok specifically, I see a ton of super high horsepower builds and also the opposite, low horsepower builds. But the idea of having a fast car. Now, I remember speaking to my brother about this. Shout out to you, bro. But he came up to me one day and we had a conversation about something, and he mentioned how 900 horsepower didn't sound that fast. Now, granted, horsepower isn't the only thing that makes a car fast. You have torque, weight, power distribution, all these different things that attribute to the car's speed, quote unquote, which also isn't the only determining factor of how fast a car can go from, example, 0 to 60 miles per hour. But he came up to me and he was speaking to me about a car he found on TikTok, and he mentioned how his 900 horsepower doesn't sound that fast. And I told him, hey, my Subaru only has 350, give or take. And he was like, wow, that must be really slow. And I'm not trying to throw shade on him, but this is 90% of the car community that resides on TikTok. It is not only a lack of knowledge, but skewed data that is occurring from repetitive scrolling on TikTok for 8 hours a day and seeing all these incredibly fast cars and all these crazy low numbers from, like 0 to 60 speeds. Your perception of speed when it comes to the car community, and speed alone as an example, just as the tip of the iceberg, is incredibly skewed, because 900 horsepower is breakneck speed. That is insane. But of course, I'm not the kind of person to tell you how fast or not fast something is. What you need to do is you need to go to a drag strip and you need to rent out a car and whip the hell around for yourself. No, I'm just kidding. But in reality, do your own research, and if you're a car guy, build something that's pretty cool. It's not that hard. Like, come on, guys. But again, that's just an example. You do not need to have a super fast car to have fun. What you need to do is you need to care about what you're building. And when I say care, I don't mean put some shitty underglow on your car. I don't mean put some disgusting, I don't mean like, putting some gross banner on your windshield. I don't mean putting 5% tint on all 5 of your windows. I don't mean that. Or all 6, all 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all 6 of your windows. Yeah, that's what I meant. Think of your car, your project, as a canvas. Think of also what you do with that car as your art class. You will not purposefully shit on your canvas and submit that to your art teacher as a grade, because you'll get a 0. You need to take your project car, you need to build it with care, love, money, of course, and time and respect. And with that, you will have something that you appreciate because you built it, and you will also have something that probably performs pretty well. Doesn't have to be the fastest thing, but if you find yourself in the right part of the car community, you can enter without any issue. And I really hate being like this because it sounds like I'm gatekeeping. I'm really trying not to. And again, I drive a Subaru WRX. I am in no spot to tell you any of this, but I am just sharing my opinion as another face on the internet. And as I mentioned earlier, it really sucks because social media has done irreparable damage to our perception of different things about cars, especially with who runs the car community, the biggest voices on, again, social media. But there is a fine line between having respect for other people's builds and not appreciating something that's obviously a piece of shit, because there are a lot of pieces of shit on the road that I see, and in my opinion, those vehicles have no place in the car community. You cannot call yourself a car guy if you drive around a Lexus LS400 that is 500 million degrees cambered, that has fake BBS rims, that is just absolutely disgusting. One little speed bump and your entire front and rear bumper are gone. You cannot call yourself a car guy if you do that. And unfortunately, I struggle to call myself a car guy because I didn't build my Subaru, I bought it. And unfortunately, with every single community you partake in, there will always be that fine line between what you take and what you don't. And with the car community, it's pretty easy to determine what you take, if you wouldn't mind offending some people, of course. But also in every community, people will get offended because people are bitches. People are soft. So that's it. I just wanted to rant about the car community and how messed up it's gotten over the years. But I can't talk again. I haven't been part of the car community for over a year, so in reality, who am I to say any of this? But for now, stay safe.